we don't really look as old, I think, as our grandparents and our great grandparents did.
And I think that's a very objective view. I really do, because I believe that too, because I see it too much even now. One in 5 of our children have high blood pressure. 1 in 5 have high blood pressure.
That's terrible. Yeah.
And those 80% of those children become adults that have heart disease. So it's starting really young.
Yeah.
And so you have to take a look at what are these kids doing or not doing. I can tell you that I've been in the industry of training people for a long time, and I've trained a lot of young athletes. And I'm going to tell you something, the youngsters that are coming through now, they're soft. It's horrible. They're out of shape.
So sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
And so you start finding out really what the real problem is. One thing that I did find interesting is, as complex and as amazing as your body is, I didn't realize that your body does not have the molecular structure to store protein. That's the reason why you have to eat it every few hours. See, unlike storing carbohydrate, your body can't store the protein. Now, here's also what I know. Maybe the one and done, like the doctor is saying. Look, I agree with you. Maybe if you're eating protein that has a lot of fat in it, red meat with a lot of fat, because what fat does, if people know how to use food, fat controls the release of the way your food is broken down. It controls sugar. So that's the reason why you can take that baked potato, that white one that's really bad for you, put butter on that. All of a sudden you made it a good. Why though? People ask why. Because fat slows the release of the sugar in your bloodstream. But what I found that was so interesting, but if you ate protein that had a lot of fat in it, it would take about 7 or 8 hours for it to break down. That makes kind of sense to me. Would I do it? No. But physiologically and the way that I understand how food works, it kind of makes sense to me. But if you ate chicken and use that argument and you're behind that, I think you're full of crap, because it's lower in fat. That's the whole thing. And that's the reason why when we did this high fat diet on the anabolic diet, we made sure that people knew you have to eat the fat, that saturated fat. That's not the culprit. It's not. And cutting cholesterol out of your diet is not the answer either, because what does your body do? It makes up for that, and it overreacts and it produces its own cholesterol. See, we're not being talked to like that. And that's the reason why we're all screwed up at the end of the day. There's so many people that are calling themselves experts. I don't buy it.
And so, talking about super longevity, we've been talking about how to eat, exercise, stay healthy. But if you want to take it a step further, what's so exciting is that I really believe finally that when you think of your grandparents, right? I mean, you're 66 and I'm 65 next month. I don't think we in any way resemble what I remember 65-year-olds to be like.
Nope.
Now, I know when we're younger, everyone looks, old. Like I remember when my father was in his 40s and I was a teenager. To me, he was old.
Yeah.
Right. And now my daughter, she'll be 45 in a couple of months. And I think, and so I told her, you're never allowed to talk about your age when you're with me, because how am I supposed to, in my mind, believe that I'm, I like to believe I'm still there. I can't do that if you're telling people how old you are. So it is mindset, but I think we've learned a lot more. But think about it. Our food, with the fast food and these big Slurpees and the amount of sodas and just packaged things that people eat. I'm really kind of surprised that we don't really look as old, I think, as our grandparents and and our great grandparents did.
And I think that's a very objective view. I really do, because I believe that too, because I see it too much even now. It's just that even, I know that we're for those people that are, but it doesn't happen across the board. It's for those people that start taking, some of these precautions that we're doing as far as a strategy and the way you eat. You don't have to eat perfect, but you have to eat in a certain way. I think that you have to, moderately do some exercise, because that's not only good for your body, but it's good for mind. All these things play a factor in how we're living today, and living hopefully a little bit longer with more quality. That's my game plan anyway.
So for super longevity, there are a lot of supplements out there that people are taking. They talked about resveratrol, but then a big one is the NAD, or its precursor, the NMN. And those seem to be good anti-aging supplements. So I think if someone is really interested in maybe being around and healthy when they're 130, and that's their goal, number one, you can look at all the biotech and infotech and nanotech and everything that's happening out there, and all the exciting things from stem cells to gene therapies. But you have to start with you. And, I go to these conferences. I've been going to anti-aging and life extension conferences for years. And it's so exciting to hear about these new gene therapies, with Clotho, I know someone personally who took a gene therapy where, for our muscles, that especially as people get older, you have sarcopenia, and you also have, as you get older, I'm trying to think of the name of whatever that gene therapy is, but it affects myostatin. So remember that myostatin, you're growing a muscle, but myostatin keeps, like for a woman, it keeps me from turning into Popeye, even if I'm working out. So myostatin is needed in the body because everything has to be balanced. But so what she did is she took a gene therapy, because remember, you turn genes on and off. And something I heard, which I thought was kind of interesting, is the idea that it's not just genetic, because you got, millions of genes from your mother and millions of genes from your dad, and this made you. But you're not just your genetic makeup or your genes, because it's not what genes you have, it's which genes are turned on and which genes are turned off. And that's why they call it, the epigenetics. So epi means above, like over or kind of controlling. So the whole new field of epigenetics is simply affecting, turning on and turning off genes that we've found. Like, for example, there are certain genes that, like in skin, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is, as I get older, I may be healthy. I have energy. When I wake up in the morning, before I realize how old I am, when I first wake up, I could be 16 years old and getting ready for school. And then I get up and I go and look in the mirror and, well, I'm going to tell you something. I can totally relate to what you're saying. And I want to tell you this right here on camera. I think you have amazing skin, and you have an amazing glow and beauty about you. So make no mistake about that. And that doesn't mean that we're not getting older, but my goodness, I wouldn't think that you're the age that you are. But I relate to you because, see, you and I are going about this in similar ways. I talk about fixing yourself from the inside out. I do IV therapy. Have you done any of that? I do let's call a Myers cocktail. I do chelation therapy, but it's all through an IV. I've done that. Yes.
Yeah. I learned about this when I had my strokes, and that's part of the reason why I got better. It's because I did 60 of these IVs in different combinations.
Yeah. So the chelation is, I like to say, it's almost like Roto-Rooter
Yep.
cleaning the vessels from the inside
Yep.
out
Yep.
instead of having to get bypasses.
That's
And
right.
it's a smart thing. Yeah.
It takes out these heavy toxins. I still do once a month. I still go in. I do an IV. I still do the same thing along with every other thing that I'm doing. I'm going to talk to you about myostatin. The other thing that myostatin does, and you probably know this, it also, at least for the male bodybuilder, because that's where I was looking at this myostatin and how it works. It also protects you, because if you have a very low, what they found is the guys that actually had put on the most muscle the quickest had lower myostatin in their system. And so if muscle grows too fast, your body, the ligaments and tendons can't keep up with that, and that's when you start getting hurt. So myostatin acts as a protectant like that, or balancing, regulating your body, which is what you were saying. So you're absolutely right. But yeah, I think I was just wondering if you had done the IV therapy, because I think that's super
yes, I do,
really
too.
helpful.
And,
yeah.
So if you think about, so what I was saying about the gene therapy with the myostatin, there is a therapy where you can inhibit the myostatin. So you're not blocking it completely. But I know a person personally who did the gene therapy, and they, over the next few years, I saw them at another conference, and they said, feel this. And they're having me feel their bicep and their tricep and their quads. And they said, I'm so busy ever since, because they're working with a biotech company and they're all over. They said, I'm so busy, I'm really not even working out. I am more toned. I am like 5 times as toned as I was before I started this. So some of these things, now, would I take that right now? No, because I'm kind of one of these people who I learn about all these new medical breakthroughs that are very exciting. And then I kind of wait, and there are people that will jump right in.
Right.
A little bit scary when you see people that are really, that if you start talking to people at these life extension conferences, they are so into it that a lot of them will start taking something that really doesn't have a lot of
needs more trial out there to see. That's
so they hear. So I like to, I don't want to miss out, if there's some really great things. So I read a lot, and I pay attention, and I go to the conferences, and I listen to people like you were talking about with diet. These people are taking this, these people are taking that. And so but the gene therapies, the stem cell therapies, while all of that's coming down the pipe,
it's a big deal.
Exciting.
Yeah, it is.
What I like to do is say, hey, I want to be around. Think about this. Let's say you had 2 twins, exactly the same in every way. Okay. But one twin, smokes, or they drink, and the other one doesn't, or this one eats a little better, or this one exercises. Okay, what if the one twin died and the other twin only, let's say you only got 1 extra year for, what you did. The one said, I'm quitting drinking. What if he only got 1 extra year?
Right.
But what if in that year there was this incredible medical breakthrough, right?
That's
that
true.
bought him another 5 years.
Yeah.
And then in those 5 years, things are happening exponentially in the biotech areas. So that'll probably buy him another 10 years.
Yeah.
And Ray Kurzweil, he wrote a book with Dr. Terry Grossman, and Terry Grossman has a huge anti-aging clinic in Denver. People come from all over the world. They wrote a book, and they talked about like a bridge. No, we can't reach 130 right now. But if you can just, buy yourself that little extra time, more breakthroughs will happen.
Yeah.
And so so what Terry said one day is he wants to live long enough to live potentially forever. Just keep buying, another 5 years, another 10 years, another 20. So my goal is that on my 80th birthday, I will look and feel younger than I do today. So instead of what we used to, most people are looking at it like it's
Game over.
inevitable. I mean, the years are going by.
Game
The
over.
years, we can't, no matter what I do, I'm still going to start breaking down and getting
Yeah.
older. But they're not thinking about the fact that many breakthroughs are coming along all the time. And I think that will happen.
Kat, but here's the deal. There's always going to be a minority like you and I, because we're made up the same way that way, that actually want to put the energy. And it's like I tell people, I said, look, make no mistake, in order for you to get the result, what you're telling me, I call a stated goal. You have a stated goal, and that's a big one, right? But most people don't ever want to follow their stated goal, because there's too much involved. There's a process that doesn't just happen. You have to do the work. I've always said that. And that's people like you and me may have that better chance to get closer to that 130, because we have the capability, that's why you're using that age, to live that long. Physiologically, we should be able to live that long, but too many things kill us for different reasons, but that's another story. So I know exactly what you're saying, and I'm going to be right there with you, because I'm still competitive. I told myself I'm not ready to, I still got something, as I think it was Stallone said in the movie, I still got a little left in the basement here, and so I'm doing the HRT. I do my blood work. This is all the stuff that people need to know. This is what you have to do, and it's an ongoing experiment, and it takes time. You're going to have setbacks, and you keep making adjustments to get down. Who wants to do that? Who wants to be a bodybuilder? Not most people. Most people don't think like you and I.
No.
So for those people, it is game. Lights are dimming and game is over. Yes, I agree. But they're in my view, in my opinion, they're in charge of that. They're deciding to do that because they're not willing to do the work. I keep saying that. I want to transition into something else. By the way, I misspoke a little bit earlier. 1 in 5 children have high blood sugar, not high blood pressure. I would imagine that one affects the other, but it's actually high blood sugar, which is still bad. That still causes heart disease.
Yes.
Okay, so as it relates to living forever, and I don't know if I want to live forever. I've never really thought about that, but I just want to live really a good quality at the age that I'm at. I'm going to take it in baby steps. And I want to do it again next year and the year after that. So I'm like playing each year as a game at a time instead of looking at the big picture. Okay. And yet I know the big picture that I want. Okay. Tell me about humans freezing themselves. I really don't know the correct words. It starts with a C.
Yes. Cryonics or cryonic suspension.
Okay, so tell me about that.
I know that we only have 5 minutes left, so
this is going to happen.
Maybe the next, we can go into it more fully if you have me back.
Why don't we do this? Because there's a lot more for us to talk about. If you don't mind, why don't we just go ahead and start exiting out this program today, and let's just make it a date, and I'll have Kara reach out to you and have you come back on, because it sounds like you would be willing to do that. Yeah,
absolutely, because I would love to talk about cryonic suspension, or they also call it suspended animation.
Yes.
And for me, the one thing I'll say about it is, for me, it's really just kind of a backup plan.
Yeah.
Like all of these other things that we're doing to stay alive and continue living here in this wonderful plane of existence. Cryonics does occur and can only be done after death. So this is something that, when I first learned about it, I remember hearing something that Walt Disney, he had passed away, and I heard that Walt Disney had frozen himself with the hope that maybe one day future technology, future medicine might revive him. And I thought, wow, that's pretty wild. And I remember in that moment, I thought, wow, see what you can do when you have money? Because Walt Disney, see, look what you can do. And I thought, wow, I wish I could have done something like that.
Yeah.
And that was just a fleeting thought. And then later on in life, I learned that I actually could if I wanted to. Now, it's not for everyone, but maybe we can meet up again, and I would love to tell you about that.
Yeah, not maybe. I want to. This is a good teaser for the next program. And I got to tell you something, one of the things I just love about doing my podcast, I do this purely like I did bodybuilding. I'm driven by the passion and the love for it, because that's one of the measuring sticks for me as far as what do I get myself into next. It's got to have those elements, that I really, and one of my favorite things is to have this podcast because I get to meet remarkable people from all walks of life. And you tap in, it gives me an opportunity to tap into your knowledge. And hopefully the same happens with you. It's like reading a book, one of the great things about reading a book is that you immediately start tapping into that person who wrote that book, their experiences. And I don't know if it gets much better than that. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate you coming on is my point. I am fascinated by how you think, what you're doing. And something, I would tell you, like my dad, you are an expert because you have been in this field for a long time, learning from firsthand experience. And I would rather listen to you than a lot of other people who claim that they really are, but they're not. So I appreciate you coming on. We'll talk some more about this next time. How about that?
That would be great. And since, unfortunately, we ran out of time, I also wanted to talk to you about one of the things with super longevity is living a super longevity lifestyle. And that's what I've been trying to create. And so maybe when we talk again, I'd like to talk about how you can turn your home, turning your home into kind of your own health resort, your own holistic health center versus just going away somewhere to, relax. And
I like that.
So we have lots to talk about.
I like that. That reminds me of, I call it living the bodybuilding lifestyle. My whole life, from the minute I get up in the morning till the minute I go to bed at night, I live that lifestyle that you're talking about in that resort in my house. And I can so relate to what you're saying. So it's going to be.
So people need to hear that because the average person maybe wouldn't even know where to start, but it's a lot of fun and it's exciting.
Excellent. Very good. Well, listen, again, thank you for coming on. And have a remarkable and productive day. And I know you will.
You too.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
It was great to meet you, Leo, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Ciao.